when I was 19, I was on my mission, woke up one morning and I just was sick.
You were here, that's what
it took a couple of days. I was like, okay, I'll get better. And then one morning I woke up and it was just different. And I stepped and my leg just gave out and I couldn't walk. I couldn't hold my head up.
There's on the other line. No good news, but say I'll be fine.
I need this to be done. I need it. I don't know what to do anymore. I have gone down every single avenue and looked at every single thing. What is going on? Why can't I do this? I remember praying for so long. The second that I ended that prayer, I heard a voice in my head that said, Lindsey, rise and walk.
I've never heard the Savior's voice, trying to hold on to the one that I've learned of, trying to...
And I stood there pacing inside my room for a minute and realized that I was walking for the first time in a long time.
Do you believe in miracles?
I am walking proof, living proof. I'm forever indebted to Jesus Christ and to my Father in heaven, because I would not be here. I would not be where I am without the miracles that they have allowed to happen in my life.
How I wish I could be who I need to be to break through the chains that hurt my soul.
Hey, it's Sarah, and welcome to More Than Musicians. As a pianist, teacher, and the owner of one of the nation's largest music schools, I've spent the last 2 decades watching the power of music change people's lives. But one part of that story rarely gets told, and that's where faith and music collide. This podcast is where we finally get to talk about it. Here, we'll explore how music deepens worship, invites peace, and helps us feel heaven just a little bit closer. I'll be joined by musicians, experts, and friends for faith-filled conversations about the life lessons only music can teach us. I'm so glad you're here. Let's dive in. Imagine waking up one morning and realizing you've completely lost your ability to walk. Even more unsettling is you have no idea why. Years of appointments, tests, and waiting finally lead to a diagnosis: Functional Neurological Disorder, or FND for short. But even with these answers, the uncertainty remains, because you never know how long an episode is going to last or when the next one will strike. For our next guest, Lindsey Curtis, this type of uncertainty has been her reality, as she's navigated a life as a young mom while facing flare-ups that seemingly take so much away. But yet, in the middle of these physical limitations, Lindsey has found undeniable evidence that God knows her and is deeply aware of her. She walks away from each episode of paralysis with a witness, and today she's here to share that witness with us, both through her story and through her songwriting. Lindsey, we're so excited to have you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I am so excited. I was so excited when you reached out.
I cannot wait to talk to you. We were just saying it's been a long time since we see each other, but I feel like we haven't missed a beat.
Yeah.
I think you were saying you were 20 years old when you first started working at the piano place.
Mm-hmm.
And that
baby.
that just a little baby. And that time in my life is like seared in my memory, because everything with the piano place was getting up and rolling. It was like a really intense time period.
Yeah.
So I just feel so close and connected to you, like we haven't missed a beat. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
It's been fun to reconnect with you. You know, I've kind of lost touch with you, but I've reconnected with you over social in the last couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. And you have such a beautiful family and you have such an amazing story to share. And so I'm glad that you could take us with you on that. My natural tendency on this show is actually to kind of go chronologically, but today I do not want to do that. I want, if you're willing, to jump into your story at the place where you first woke up to find that you couldn't walk. Can you take us there?
I've always been like an accident prone person. So all my friends would make fun of me in high school and stuff. I was always like gimp or hop along. Like I've always had problems, but when I was 19, I was on my mission. I was in Halifax, Canada, and it's hilarious. I was reading my mission journal last night. I was looking through it. I was like, what was I feeling at that time? And my little brother wrote a note in my journal before I left. He was like, P.S. don't get hurt. And it was so funny because I had been out for about a month and a half, and I woke up, I was in Canada, woke up one morning, and I just was sick, like with the flu, and I was feeling really dizzy and just gross. And it took a couple of days I was like, okay, I'll get better. And then one morning I woke up and it was just different. And I stepped and my leg just gave out and I couldn't walk. I couldn't hold my head up. Like if you think of a human bobblehead, that's literally me. I would bob backwards and forward and to the side. Like I just couldn't hold up. It was so heavy. And my poor companion had to literally carry me everywhere we went. And I would take a pillow and a blanket and I would just lay on the couch at the church. I would just set up and lay around because it was just we didn't know what was going on. It was so hard.
I cannot imagine what that would be like to have, like, one day you're just normal, then you get sick, and then you wake up to that. Like, I'm sure that was so unexpected. What happened next? Like, did you meet with the mission president? Did you come home? What happened?
Yeah, so it took about, I want to say like a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks that we tried to figure out, like I talked to the mission doctor and he was like, well, this is a problem because you're in Canada and you can't get care here unless you want to wait for a year. And I was like, yeah, definitely not. And so I had options. I was staying in the mission home for a little bit because I was kind of bouncing around to different companionships because my poor companion was like just stuck inside all day. So eventually I was in the mission home and he came to me and said, this is what we can do. We can either send you to, or we can wait here for care. We can send you to Maine because that was part of our mission. And then you can get care in the US, or we can send you home. And at that point, they thought that I could have a tumor in my brain. They thought like all of these things. And I was like, I want my mom, like send me home, you know? And so we decided that would be the best thing to do. And within the next like day or two, I was on a plane, which that was crazy getting around the airport by myself in a wheelchair. Like that's a story in and of itself, but I made it home and then we just kind of hit the ground running trying to figure out what was going on because we had no idea.
I can't imagine the unknown. I mean, you're probably sitting there thinking like, okay, any day now, let's just get this back going. But I imagine mentally that would be really hard to try and figure out like, okay, what's the deeper underlying cause here? So coming home from your mission, I can imagine that's so hard. What was that like for you?
It was very, very testing for sure. I had to put all of my trust and faith in God, more so than I ever had to. And I was like, I just went on a mission. Like I had to put everything in you before. Like, what am I supposed to do now? And I remember I prayed all the time. And I would write my prayers down. And being a musician, I would often put them to music. And so, there was one song that I wrote. It was called Tired of Being Alone. And it really was just this cry for help. It was like, hello, I am here. I have read your words. I read the scriptures. I went and tried to serve you. I tried to do everything right. And you're not here. And I'm suffering and I'm hurting. And I feel so lost and so lonely and so just like I'm begging you. Where are you? And that song came from that.
I'm excited. We're going to hear that now.
Eight months since the last time you were here, that's what it feels like. Think I'm doing this on my own. Doctors on the other line, no good news, but say I'll be fine. Just hang up the phone. I wish I could see all that you see. They tell me that this will help me grow, but how could it be if I can't even walk on my own? 'Cause I've read the book and I know that you're out there, but I've never heard the Savior's voice. I'm trying to hold on to the one that I've learned of, trying to block out all of the noise. It's been a Sometimes it really feels like the more I try, the more I fall right. Don't know which way to go. I give my all, I give my heart and mind. Try to follow everything right, but I still feel alone. Oh, I wish I could be who I need to be to break through the chains that hurt my soul. I wanna believe that you are with me. I wanna be strong, I wanna feel you close. 'Cause I read the book and I know that you're out there, but I've never heard the Savior's voice. Trying to hold on to the one that I've learned of, trying to block out all of the noise. It's been a long, hard road, I don't know where else I can turn, so I'm making the choice. Father, if you hear my prayer, are you there? Can I come back home? I'm tired of being alone. My mind is telling me there's no one out there, but I have to believe that you are right here. You're calling out my name, yeah, I believe. I read the book and I know that you're out there, but I've never heard the Savior's voice. But I will hold on to the one that I've learned of, so I can block out all of the noise. It's been a long, hard road, but I know where I have to turn, so I'm making the choice. Father, if you hear my prayer, are you there? Can I come back home? Father, I know that you're there. Hear my prayer. I wanna come home. I'm tired of being alone. 8 months since the last time you were here, that's what it feels like. But I'm not doing this on my own.
But then also, I imagine it's really hard to come home early from a mission. You know, I've heard that is the case. And what was that like for you emotionally to be home early? And then is there anything you wish you could say to yourself back then or to another person who's come home early from a mission for a medical reason?
Yeah, there's so much that I wish I could say. Because I came home with the intention of, we're going to figure it out and I'm going to go back. And that did not happen. And so my world was just totally flipped upside down. I stayed a missionary. They didn't release me right away because we had that plan. And it was really hard for me because you get the judgment of people. And on top of it, I was in a wheelchair and I had this little head bobble going on. I couldn't walk. And so not only was it, I thought you were on your mission, it was, what is wrong with you?
What is going on?
What's going on? And I had this, and then I also had all these people saying like, oh, my sister had this, or my uncle's brother's cousin, like just all these things. And I was like, you have no idea what I'm going through. And you don't know what this is. No one knows what this is. Like everyone's intentions were good, but I was just like, everybody stop, please. And what was really hard for me was when I got released. I was not anticipating it, and I had been home for a little while. And I remember it was stake conference, and I was in the very back of the cultural hall at the church with my family, and the stake president came up, and my parents weren't around me at the time. And so he came up and was just checking in, how you doing? And he just said, I think we're going to release you just because things are not going as like we thought they would. So we're going to go ahead and release you, and then we can take care of like setting you apart again when you go back. And I was like, okay, sounds good. Thinking that he would have a day where I went into his office and I was released. Yeah. And I said, okay, you're good. And I was like, that was it? I'm like, he's like, you can take your tag off. And I was like, what? That's all? and so all of a sudden it was just gone. And so I feel like that was a really big moment for me that was like, who am I now? Like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And I struggled with that for a long time. And so now when I think of my younger self, when I think of someone who comes home early from the mission, I'm so glad that the stigma has kind of changed now. I feel like it used to be worse, and it's still getting better. But I would say that just because you're not on your mission in a different state or a different country or wherever doesn't mean that you can't continue to serve. It doesn't mean you can't continue to be a missionary. And for me, I feel like definitely I was meant to come home early. I was meant to go to Canada for the time that I did. But God had a different plan for me, and I really had to put my trust in that. But the end of your mission isn't the end of your call. And so I think I had to really trust in that and remember that, because it got really hard.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that experience. I have seen, kind of coming home from a medical standpoint in a very personal way. I have 5 little brothers, and one of those brothers had this really fluky, crazy medical thing happen where he had to come home for a time. Yeah. And it was really crazy to me how worried everyone was about the appearance of him coming home. Yeah. And so for our audience and for those listening, I think one thing that we can do to continue to rid, of that stigma is to not talk about it, to not gossip about it in a certain way, and to rather just take that energy and minister to the person that was coming home. You said there were a lot of people that would, oh, my cousin, my uncle, what was helpful to you in those moments to hear?
It was honestly not even acknowledging really like what was going on, which sounds kind of weird, but like you were just saying, like what people would say about it. Like I had someone come up to me and say like, I heard you were in the hospital. I heard this. And I was like, that's not helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Like, and to know everyone's talking about me, that doesn't feel great.
No, I was like, I mean, yes, I am not okay, but I'm not on my deathbed, and some people came up to me as if there were things going around saying that that's how bad it was. And now, like, again, we didn't know the extent of what was going on. Yeah. But it was really hard, because I was like, that's not what I need. What I need is for you to just come to me and say, you know what? I love you and I support you and I'm here for you. I'm so happy to see you. And that was what I got from my friends. And that's what I got from specific people in my life that now, again, they knew the situation. But I just feel like now, especially like when I see someone struggling, I never go up to them and say, I totally understand what you're going through. I know exactly what you mean, because nobody does. And it's a lot easier to just say, you know what? I can really empathize with what you're going through, and I'm so sorry. Yeah. It's not fair. It's so hard, and I see you, but I'm here for you.
Yeah. Having gone through what you've been through, you have probably learned an empathy in a different way. And I think that, we all go through little trials that give us those little pieces of it, but especially you, having gone through this, can probably minister in a way that a lot of other people can't, because you know how it feels. I think sometimes too, just going back to that note, is like, oh, if you come home, it better be because you are very, very sick or something. And I think sometimes there's like this need to justify, oh, well, this happened, and so he had to come home or she had to come home. And I think a lot of times we also reduce that stigma when the details don't matter. Even if it's a mental health issue, it doesn't matter. It's all valid. Yeah. Let's talk for a second about expectations and letting go. I feel like that's one of the hardest things I hear about missionaries coming home, is just, you have this expectation it's going to go a certain way. And when it doesn't go to plan, how did you handle like the surrendering over of not your will, but his?
That was hard.
Tell us about that.
It was funny because I remember I never planned on going on a mission. And when they changed the age, it was my older sister went, and that kind of got me like, okay, maybe, but I was never like, I'm going on a mission. And so it took a lot for me to get there, as far as like, I had a testimony. I loved the gospel, but I just never really felt like, okay, it's for me. And so I had a really profound experience as I was figuring out to go on my mission. And so coming home, I was like, well, what on earth was any of that for, you know, because I go for a month and a half and now I'm home. Like, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
And I think, honestly, I didn't fully surrender until I met my doctor, my 15th doctor that finally helped me. And he just had this attitude. I still see him to this day. It's been 10 years. He has this light about him that he is so just, we're going to figure this out. And there is a purpose behind every single thing that's going on. And I'm going to find it. It's not just everything happens for a reason. It's what is it? Mm-hmm. We're going to find it. We're going to find the answers, and we're going to take that and we're going to learn from it and get better from it. And he was the person that really helped me gain that perspective. And I didn't meet him till I think 8 months after I got home for the first time. So it took a while.
Yeah, what a blessing to find him. When we were chatting earlier, you had said that you had been, you had thought, is this Lyme's? Is this MS? Is this a seizure disorder? Like, what is going on? And you had mentioned you'd been to multiple doctors and sometimes didn't even feel like they believed you.
Oh yeah, they told me they did
like?
it. Yeah, I was told I was lying. I was told I was making it up. I was told, it was so frustrating. A lot of the time they'd be like, it's just anxiety, you'll be fine. And it felt so annoying because I was like, okay, first of all, like, just anxiety, like, do you know what anxiety is? Because it's really a huge issue for so many people. And I struggle. I'm an anxious person. I struggle with it. And I felt like it was like maybe a disservice, I guess, to people who deal with anxiety, because I was like, that's kind of shrugging it off, saying that anxiety is this simple, easy thing to get over. And you're also putting me in this box of like being insane. You're saying, not that people have anxiety are insane, but saying like, it's just this, you're fine, get over it.
Yeah.
You're making this up, you're crazy, go home and go to sleep and figure it out.
Yeah.
Like
Calm down. Yeah.
It was so annoying.
And I think those stereotypes are so damaging. I have struggled with anxiety. I think it's so common, and I think it's so widely, it's such a common thing that so many of us are going through. And I think that when it's minimized or something is reduced down to just like, oh, well, just take deep breaths, like calm down. It minimizes it, and it perpetuates a stereotype with it. And so you find this doctor, and in 2020, you finally get a diagnosis. And what does that look like? Yeah.
So it took 5 years of seeing that doctor, which was crazy because the first time I saw him was 8 months after I came. It was 2016. I came home in 2015. Took about 8 months before I saw, or maybe not 8 months before I saw him, but I was working with him. And then I just have to say, the first time I didn't walk into his office. I, rolled in.
Yes.
I went into his office and I was so discouraged. And my mom was with me, and she's, the same way. And we're just like, I hope this one's different. And he came into the office and he said, Sister Tait, and he still calls me Sister Tait. He calls me his little sis. I love him. He was like, I don't know you. I don't know you yet. I don't know your whole story. I've seen your file. Like I've seen what you filled out online. I've seen these things about you, but I don't know you. But what I do know is that the Lord doesn't send me a single person I can't fix, and I'm going to fix you. And I just okay, thank you so much. And my mom was in the corner just sobbing, and
to be heard by someone.
And he fought tooth and nail for me through this entire process. And so over the next 4 years, we figured things out. We did so many tests and so many things that we got relief. And I was walking again. I was doing things normally. Finally, after I think it took about maybe 8 to 10 months after I got home from my mission, I was able to move out and go to college. I was playing college lacrosse. Life was good. I was having a great time. And then in 2020, I had a relapse. And so I went back to him very consistently. I was like, what is going on? And finally, at this point, it was interesting because I was married and I was living at my grandparents' house. They have a mother-in-law apartment in their home. And so my sweet Nana, she came in one night with a stack of papers, and she was so excited. She was like, you guys, I found this thing. I think it might be what you have. And so we sat and we read and we were like, oh my gosh, yeah. And so we took it to Dr. Hatch, and he was like, yeah, I would say this is perfect. Yeah.
Nana diagnosed
Nana diagnosed me. It was interesting because we took it to Dr. Hatch, and it wasn't a like, how did he put it? Like, that's great. If you want to put a name to it, this is it. I don't care about that.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Random. And he was like, I care about fixing it. I want to know why. So perfect. We have a name. We have what it is. Now let's continue to figure out why and fix it.
Why it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. So this leads into the story. You've gotten married, and what's your husband's name?
Adam.
Mm-hmm. And he is so cute. I've watched him on Instagram, and him just standing by your side through all of it. We'll talk more about him, but take me to the day that you found out you're pregnant with Lincoln.
That was...
So you'd been in an episode.
Yes, I had. So for timeline's sake, we got married April of 2019. And then in October of 2019, I woke up one morning, and I had been fine. But I woke up one morning to get out of bed to go to work, and I fell to the ground. My legs just didn't work. And so I was like, and he was still asleep because I usually woke up before him to leave. And I was like, Adam, help. Like, I can't move. And he jumps up. He's like, what is going on? And I just lost everything. I was just gone. And so I was like, great. This is fun. We're going through this again. And we, restarted the whole process. We went back to Dr. Hatch and said, hey, this is happening again. Tried a few other doctors too, just to see if we could fill any holes. And from October until December, New Year's Eve was the first time I had a seizure. And at that point we knew like, okay, this is a lot more serious this time. So we took some new approaches, did all the same things too that we had done before. And by March, I had been on, it was COVID, mm-hmm. and things were kind of crazy. Things were kind of weird. I had been on, disability at work. And so I was just home. And I remember it was March 20th. And I woke up that morning to an email from the HR people at my work. And they were like, hey, considering all the circumstances, we're going to move to executive separation. And I was like, okay, so you're firing me. Like, yeah. Thanks. Woke up that morning and was like, that's fun. And I just remember being so just low. And I stood up after like reading that message off the couch, and I was alone. And I felt like strength in my legs again. I was like, this is weird. I was about to grab my little walker. Yeah. I was like, maybe I should just try and take a step. And I took one step. I was like, I didn't fall. Okay, we're good. And then I took another, and I was like, okay, this is good. And it was very similar to the first time that happened after my mission. And I was like, oh my gosh.
You kind of regain
it just
strength back.
Something flipped. And I was still very like, okay, we're a little wobbly, but I was walking. And so I remember I was like, Nana, because Adam was gone working. And so I moved as fast as I could. And thankfully they have an elevator in the house. So I went up the elevator to stay safe. And I walked into a room just crying. And she looked at me and she was just like, oh my gosh. And I was like, I just got fired from my job, but I'm walking. Yeah. It's amazing. And so we had this little moment together. And then later that night, Adam and I we had dinner, and we were like, maybe I should take a pregnancy test. Like, I don't know. And so I took one, completely not expecting it to be positive at all. And I took it, and Adam will tell you, I almost passed out because I was just like, oh my gosh, it's positive. Whoa. This was not the plan. Like, what is going on?
That's a big day. That's a lot of events huge. In one day.
It was crazy. And it was almost like all these things happened, but my body knew. And so it was like, you got to pull it together, come back. And it just, after that, I was pretty good.
So during your pregnancies, you were kind of in a remission type state where you were
essentially. Good.
Which is a blessing. That's incredible to get your kids here. You have 2 kids, right? Mm-hmm. And both of the pregnancies, you were totally good.
Lincoln's was, you know, like I guess experimental in the sense of like, we were like, I'm good. Like I'm not having the constant migraines as much. I'm not dizzy. I can walk. I can go and work out like I could before, all of these things. And what Dr. Hatch said, he was just like, you know, I think your body, it knows it's hosting another human. It has to pull itself together.
Wow.
And it just did what it needed to. It was crazy.
That's cool. I think that's a blessing.
It was
in my eyes.
It was a miracle.
You know,
it was huge.
And a huge miracle. This episode was made possible by the Piano Place. I can promise you that I will never run an ad on this show that I don't wholeheartedly believe in. This is one service I can confidently put my name behind. When I started the Piano Place 10 years ago, I had no idea just how deeply music would impact people. I've watched shy kids find their confidence, teens discover an emotional outlet, moms rediscover their connection to themselves, and families strengthen their homes through music. At the Piano Place, we match every student with a teacher who fits them, their unique personality, and their goals. Everything from our recitals to our state-of-the-art studio locations are designed to help inspire creativity from the moment our students walk in the door. Our tagline, Making More Than Musicians, gives insight to our main mission, which is to help kids learn to love and stick with lessons, all while discovering the great life lessons along the way. With 12 locations across Utah, it's never been easier to get started. You can visit our website, thepianoplaceutah.com, and if you mention More Than Musicians, you will get your first lesson free. You can call us at 801-893-2417. That's 801-893-2417. Give us a call today and we'll get you taken care of. Something I have always just genuinely admired about you is just your attitude. You have the best, most sparkly presence about you. Just so happy and fun to be around. And so, you know, I think about you going through all of these experiences, and I've seen, you know, your videos that you've posted online, and you make it seem like you're so up and that you're so happy through all of this. But was there ever a time, like what was your internal dialogue? And was there ever a time where you're asking God, like, why me? Why this?
All the time. Yeah. I, especially with like the videos online, I get told that I'm pretty positive, and I really appreciate that. And I try to exude that as much as I can, because I've found that it sucks the other way.
Yeah.
Like if you can't just try and find the good things. But I absolutely have my moments very often of just like, why? What is the point? What is the reason? It feels so cyclical for me sometimes, because I feel like I'll go through a flare up and then I work really hard to get back to where I was before and beyond that. And a lot of times it feels like I get to like the best place, and then it's like, all right, got to get you back down again, because there's something else that you need to learn now. And so I'm like, well, can I just stay stagnant then? Like, Can I just stay in one place? And God is just like, no, because there's so many things that you need to learn. And so I definitely have my moments. I ask a lot of questions, but
your attitude is amazing.
I get answers.
Yeah. This is actually a topic like I've wanted to study, and I have studied a lot in my lifetime, which is, you know, the tendency to be a victim in our circumstances, or to ask why me. And there are two phrases that I love, and I want to throw them out to you here. There's a Christian speaker. She's an author, and she was paralyzed at like a young age. And she, in that whole experience, instead replaced why me with how can God use me just as I am. Yeah. And I think there's something for all of us to learn in that. How can God use me just as I am? And then Viktor Frankl, who wrote the book Man's Search for Meaning, he was a Holocaust survivor. He lost his entire family. His question like that is, what is life asking of me right now? And it sounds like you kind of experienced both of those things amidst this trial. Like, okay, God, what are you trying to teach me here?
I have a quote that I really love, that if God leads you to it, he'll lead you through it. And I have to really remember that a lot. Just really quick, there was a woman that I was speaking to, this was probably in 2021, I think. I had the opportunity to speak with actually a record label in Nashville. They found me on social media and they contacted me and said, we want to work with you. And I was like, okay, cool.
Wow, that's cool.
And it was like this whirlwind of like interviews and just phone calls and all these things. And I remember talking to the lady at one point, because it's a Christian label. And I had a conversation with her one time and she asked me about my songs and getting through hard things and this kind of same thing. And she asked me why I want to do music and why I want to do all these things. And I just said, because it's what he's constantly doing for me. He's helping me all the time. And I want to use what he's given me to help other people, because all the songs that I write are not from me. They're from him, and I want to share that. And she said something that has always stuck with me. She said, isn't it amazing what he can do? He's a builder. And I was just like, wow, you're right. Like he builds, he takes things. And if you go and look up the definition of a builder, it gives you synonyms like master and creator and father. And I like had this moment where I was just like, wow, like he's building me through all of this.
Yeah, into something bigger and better than we ever could even know.
Yeah.
You know, that picture of the teddy bear, you know, you want the tiny little one, you know, that is in front, but you don't even know what he has behind his back. It's this big, squishy, soft teddy bear, bigger than you could ever imagine. And I love how you say that music has been part of your journey. You are an amazing artist with an incredible talent. I have loved listening to you for years and years and years. You said something really powerful to me on a phone call that we had. You said that music has been a lifeline to you through this. And you also shared with me how music plays a role during your episodes. Will you touch on that for us?
Yeah. It is honestly incredible. We figured out when I came home from my mission that the only time that my body was still, and even still now, you can see like my foot is always moving. I have little head ticks and twitches, and we were talking a minute ago, my eye winks at people.
You winked at me. I loved it.
And so I don't always have full control over my body. And the only time that we found that I did was when I was playing music. And so I remember when I first came home, I didn't play right away. I was really upset. And a lot of times in my life when I've like been angry, I step away, because music is something that brings me closer to God. And I shouldn't do that, right? But I do. And there was one moment where at home, I was to a point where I was able to kind of get around on crutches. And I remember being in my room in the basement. So it took me a long time to get down there. And I went and I just kind of fell to my knees and I prayed. I was like, what is this? What's going on? Like, you know, I feel like I'm going through the refiner's fire again, because I had had a lot of things in my life prior to that I was like, come on. And I just kind of cried out to God and was like, just help me. And I remember walking past the piano, crutching past the piano, I guess, very slowly and kind of angrily after that prayer. And there was a voice in my head that just said, go sit down. I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. It's far away. I have to get up the stairs. I don't want to. And it was just this very stern, very strong feeling and voice. Like I felt very strong in my chest, but also in my head, it was like, go sit at the piano. I was like, fine, whatever. And I went and I sat down, and one of the most profound experiences of my life, it was not coming from me, because the second I sat down, this song came out and my body was still. And this song, these words just flowed out. I remember grabbing my phone and just like typing frantically. I was like, okay, like I'm writing all this down, and I would place my fingers on the keys, and I had no thought of what I was going to do. It just came. And in about 5 minutes, this song just was laid out in front of me, and it was a complete answer to the prayer that I had just said. And it was something that was so special and something I will never ever forget. And it was in that moment too that I realized that I was still, and I had not been still for a long time.
And this is your song, You Are Not Alone.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to hear that now.
You wonder if the things you do will ever be enough. You're struggling to carry on. And every day seems like the water deepens and the storm takes all the light until it's gone. You feel so lost, like everything you used to know is breaking, and you don't know where to turn. Just let your Savior take you farther than your feet could ever wander on their own. 'Cause you are not alone, even when your faith feels like it's shaking and your heart feels like it's breaking. He's standing right beside you and he knows every pain and every burden. And whenever you are hurting more than most, you are not alone. Seems like the road gets longer every time you think you're gathering the strength to make it farther and see beyond the shadows of this place. But don't lose hope, the walls are breaking down. Open your eyes, 'cause you are not alone, even when your faith feels like it's shaking and your heart feels like it's breaking. He's standing right beside you and he knows every pain and every burden. And whenever you are hurting more than most, and his arms are outstretched to pull you across the border and enter in the presence of your Father. 'Cause you are not alone, even when your faith feels like it's shaking and your heart feels like it's breaking. He's standing right beside you and he knows every pain and every burden. And whenever you are hurting more than most, you are not alone.
I loved what you said when we were talking about, music or turning to music, how I have felt that feeling about sometimes when I'm feeling mad at God or my circumstances, that it's too vulnerable for me to go sit at the piano because of what I feel when I'm sitting there.
Yeah.
And you touched on that. And so will you share with us like how you have used music to worship or to connect with God?
Yeah. It over the years has definitely evolved and changed. I've always been a lover of music. I've always played, and I remember writing songs when I was little. But it's kind of interesting because over time as it's changed, you know, like I went through phases of when I first started writing songs. I remember one of the first real songs that I wrote, it was for my aunt who was diagnosed with breast cancer. And then after that, I was in my teenage years through teenage boy, you know, drama, all the things. And a lot of it was like, oh, I love you, I hate you, I love you, I hate you kind of stuff. And it wasn't until my mission that I kind of unlocked this whole new world of feeling so close to God through writing and through music. And it was really special because I was able to deepen my understanding of the gospel and my relationship with Jesus Christ and with my Father in heaven, through the music that was coming to me. And so over time, I just feel like I have been able to find new ways to even make that even deeper. So last year over the summer, I was like, I'm gonna write 30 songs in 30 days. And just for fun, just gonna kind of try it out. And I want them all to be faith and Christian based. And every day I would have someone give me 3 words that I wanted to incorporate in that song. And that was one of the most like special little journeys that I've ever been on. Like I got so much, I feel like, wisdom and so many answers to prayers through that experience. So I feel like with each new chapter of my life, I'm like able to unlock a new way to use music to strengthen my relationship with him.
That's a cool testament to when you take action, the inspiration can come from that. You know, you had to put one foot in front of the other. You had to make the goal of the 30 songs. Yeah. But in doing that, you get inspiration, and it's cool. It's for you. I'm sure you're changed in that process, but everyone that listens to your music also has the opportunity to be changed. You mentioned something before we went into the song about how you had to be still in that moment at the piano. And I want to talk about when you have these episodes, I'm sure it forces a slower pace on your lifestyle. When you're physically not able to get around, being at a slower pace, how has that impacted and sweetened your motherhood?
It's been amazing, honestly. When everything happened this past year, I was really scared and worried because of my kids. I was like, how am I going to be a mom? How am I going to do all of these things? And it has been such a testament to me of the beauty and wonder of children, and being able to be forced to slow down, but to teach them how to love in a different way. I feel like they see me in a really vulnerable state, and they see Adam taking care of me, and they see us leaning on each other through that. But it's gonna make me get all emotional too. But
tears are welcome here. I cry every episode. It's fine.
It's just amazing because I feel so close and connected with them, especially in those moments when they come and comfort me, the way that I am able to comfort them when they're sad and upset. And there was one experience in September on Labor Day. It was the last time I had a seizure. And so Lincoln, he just turned 5. So he is, he's the big brother. He likes to protect people. He's so cute. And then Quincy is 2.5. And Lincoln is more aware of what's going on. And I was alone with the kids I was on Labor Day. I had been doing better. I had been seizure free for, I don't know, maybe a month or so. And Adam had he got invited to go golfing with his dad. And I was like, oh, you're leaving at 6 a.m. You will all be asleep, like it'll be fine. By the time you're back, we'll just be waking up. And so he reluctantly went, but he went. I was like, you need to go. And so he went, he was on his way back home. It was about 8:30. And I was able to, at this point I was on one crutch. I was able to get around a lot better. And I had gotten the kids breakfast. We had just kind of been hanging out. It was a good morning. And then all of a sudden I felt a seizure coming on. And I was like, crap, I'm alone.
What does that feel like?
It was sometimes a lot of times it kind of varies, but for the most part, I will get, like they talk about like aura, like seizure aura, like there's kind of just this feeling of like, okay, I think it's coming, but my tics will start acting up like crazy. Like my eyes both are like, like going insane. My head will just constantly tick to the right. And I know that something is coming. And so I was like, crap, I've got to get to the ground. I've got to figure this out. The kids are in their high chairs. And so I was like, Lincoln, I need you to climb out of your high chair because I can't get him out. So he climbed out of his high chair and then helped me get Quincy out of hers. I was like, Quinny, go sit on the couch. We're going to turn on a show. And I kind of just occupied her. And then Lincoln helped me get to the ground, and it all just started coming on. And when I have the seizures, I'm coherent. I can talk. But the longer it goes on, the more out of it I become. And so I knew I needed to get to Adam quick. Mm-hmm. And so I grabbed as best as I can, like my body's shaking. I grabbed my phone out of my pocket and I like kind of just get it on the floor. And I said, Lincoln, I need you to call Dad. And we had kind of been over like what to do in that situation. And he was like, okay. And he watches when I have these episodes and he sees what people do. And so he's sitting there trying to do what all these people, he's 4 at that time, trying to do all these things. And he opens my phone, he finds Dad, he calls him, and he missed the first call. And so I was like, okay, we got to call your grandpa. Baba is what they call him. And I was like, you got to find Baba's number. And so he was like, okay, what do I do? And I was like, type in a C and an O and a U because his name's Courtney. And so he's like, okay. And I hear him like C-O-U. and I'm like panicking, but trying to stay calm for him. And my body's going crazy. And he was like, I think I found him. And he clicks on it and he calls and it rings and it rings and it rings. And then he answers. He's like, hello. And Lincoln kind of freezes up a little bit. He's like, hi, Baba. Hi. And he's like, Lincoln, what's going on? And then you can hear Adam in the background because they're in their car together. And he goes, Mommy's having a seizure. And then all of a sudden, Adam's like, crap, like we got to get home. And he's like, okay, Lincoln, you know how long it's been? Like we're just about to get off the freeway. We're 5 minutes away. And he goes, not very long. I've got her. Oh. And I was just like, okay, we're good. And Adam was like, okay, Link, I need you to go make sure the front and the garage door are both unlocked. He's like, okay. And he runs and he goes and unlocks the doors. And then he comes and he just sits and he puts his hand on my arm and he just waits with me until Adam got there. And sorry, that was like a long tangent, but it's just amazing to see the ability that children have to not only love, but care for people in such a big way. He's 4. He shouldn't have to do that. He's 5, but still he shouldn't have to have that big of a burden and responsibility. But he did it, and he did it without question. And he did it because he loves me. And it's just incredible. So to be able to share those types of experiences with them and see them grow and learn and love and hopefully carry that as they get older is amazing.
That's the sweetest story. Thank you so much for sharing that. When these episodes are happening, so tell our audience, you're not able to drive. Mm-mm. And how long, like for weeks at a time, for months at a time, how does that work? How do you do that? It's so hard.
It is. It's tough. Yeah, I can't drive. I can't really do anything for myself. This past episode was really difficult because we were living out of state and I was like, well, what am I going to do? I don't know hardly anybody. We had just moved from Washington to Reno. My husband, Adam, he's a lawyer. And so he finished law school in Washington and then his first job out of school was in Reno. And we felt really just prompted to go there, which was kind of difficult because he had 4 offers. One of them was in Washington, which I was like, I would stay here. I love it. 2 of them were here and one of them was in Reno. And for whatever reason, we felt really just pulled to go to Reno. And so we did. And Reno while I look back on it now and think of what an amazing blessing it was hard. It was really, really hard. And so I was really mad when everything happened, because I had kind of hit a point where at New Year's in January, I was like, you know what? I'm going to change my attitude. I'm going to suck it up and I'm going to make this just as good as Washington was. And I had kind of like turned this corner of like, I'm going to make this good. And a month later, everything happened again. And I was like, why? Like literally the second that I say like, I'm turning it over to you, like you're in control, this happens. And I had to completely again surrender and just say, okay, I can't do this. I can't. And I have to rely on people now that I don't know. Our board members really stepped up at that point, and it was incredible to just see the help that I got from people who were almost strangers. I knew them, but had not known them very long. People were bringing us meals. People were driving us places. They were taking Lincoln to preschool for me. Like everything was just so amazing in the sense of it's all in God's hands. And then we eventually made the decision that we needed to get back to Utah, and coming back, things get a lot easier in that way. My sweet mom, every day from April until, what was it, August? Past August, it was October that I finally was walking again. She would text me, say, what time am I picking you up today? And so we would get ready in the mornings. Adam would go to work and she would come and pick up the kids and me, and we'd go to her house, and we just spent every day at Nana's house. And we would go run errands with her. We'd take Lincoln to preschool. I cherish the time that I've had to just spend so much one-on-one time with my mom, because I've missed her. I've lived out of state for a long time, and I'm 29, but I still, need my mom. And even though it's so hard and annoying to not be able to be independent, I am very grateful that I have so many amazing people to help me.
These stories are so tender to me. Just the time that you're getting with them, but also, it's not easy to be served. It's really actually hard. I attended an institute class this last week, and the topic was the woman with the issue of blood in Mark 5. And we talked about that, and the teacher went in depth. Her name's Kaylin Nelson. She's incredible, but she went in depth about how serious and like debilitating of an issue this issue of blood was. Yeah. And it ostracized her from society, and it made it so she couldn't touch anyone or she would make them unclean, and they would have to wash ritually to get rid of anyway, I just got thinking about it. But we as women, I don't think, like, we don't want to be a burden. Mm-mm. It's so hard to ask for help. And she talked about how when she reached out to touch the hem of the garment, well, she touched the hem because that's the very smallest, most inconspicuous, part that would leave the least amount of burden on him. Yeah. And even in that, it just got me thinking about, as women, why is it so hard to help or to ask for help? Yeah. Because when we do, and when we fail to ask for help, we also deny people. And I'm sure your mom, if she were here, would say that time spent serving you strengthens your bond. It grows your relationship. It makes you feel love. And ultimately, it makes you more Christ-like. Yeah. And so you've talked about angels, and you've talked about the ones that have bolstered you up through this experience. You've mentioned your mom. You've mentioned your Nana. You've mentioned Adam. Mm-hmm. Are there any other angels that you have come into? And you've mentioned Dr. Hatch too. Yeah. It sounds like there's a lot of angels. What role do those angels play for you and for your family as you are in a good spell, as you're not in an episode right now? Yeah,
they're huge. I can't even count how many there are. Sometimes it takes, looking back on a situation to recognize how many there actually were. And sometimes, you can see it in the moment. But yeah, like Dr. Hatch, huge. he was the, like I said, kind of the turning point for me and my perspective. And my mom, my dad, my siblings, just like my whole family. And on top of that, my friends, my sweet, amazing friends who are lifelong, but also the ones I made in Washington, who are now lifelong friends as well. And most recently, I would say, when we were in Reno, like I said, our ward members stepped up, but I didn't even realize, I think fully in the moment, when we knew we had to move, and we were like, I don't know how are we going to do this? I can't move. How am I going to pack? Adam still has to work. We don't have people here. And there was one day that women from our ward, and I was teaching piano in Reno, and piano and guitar, and all of the moms of my students and some of my students, and so many women from my ward came and had our whole place packed up in a day. And I just was like, oh my gosh, like I haven't even seen this while I've been here, but these people are amazing. And I've been so taken care of. And I was so down and kind of like in the dumps and like, oh, this is so hard. Like, you know, all these things that I didn't recognize it in the moment. And so I've made it a goal to recognize it more in the moment and see it. And I had the opportunity to do that because when we came here, my mom was really stressed because she was like, we've got to get you better before September, because my parents were going out of town for almost 3 weeks. They were going to Scotland and Ireland with not only just them, but they were going with my mom's parents and all her siblings and their spouses. So a lot of my resources were going to be gone. And she was like, we've got to get you better. And I wasn't better. And before she left, she reached out to women and neighbors and in the ward and neighbors and just all these people. And then people in my ward as well, moving back. And we had meals almost every day that they were gone. We had people driving Lincoln to and from school every day. We had people picking me up and taking me to my appointments every day because I had a lot of them. And there was not a second that went by that I was not watched over and taken care of, because Adam still had to work. And so when he wasn't there, everyone else was. And it's incredible to see how many people really are stepping up for you when you need it.
That's incredible. When you're talking about that, I keep thinking about how, earlier we talked about when you're in a victim mentality state and thinking, why me? It almost blocks you and denies you being in gratitude for it. And so there's like a mental switch, it sounds like, that has to take place to go from a victim state to, and not wanting to ask for help, to a state of gratitude where you're just like, yes, I need help. And there are all times that we're going to experience in our lives where we need help. Mm-hmm. We physically, we emotionally, we spiritually cannot do something. And your story is a testament to me that there are people among us who can help us, and that we all change in being part of that service. Yeah. And so thank you. Speaking of vulnerability, I kind of wanted to ask why you started what inspired you to start posting on social? Yeah. And that's vulnerable, putting yourself out there like that. And so your videos, though, are what brought me back to, I've always like, oh yeah, Lindsey Tait. Yeah. But your videos, Brady actually brought to my attention one day. He said, look what Lindsey Tait is going through. And I think so many of your videos have pictures and clips of your kids and your family rallying around you during this time. So talk to us about first what made you have that pull to social.
Yeah. I had it for a long time. I would say years, I have had kind of this pull to be like, you should post on social media. And I tried to do it a little while back, just with music. I was like, okay, I'll just like post I did every Monday and every Thursday. I would post a little snippet of a song. And it, it was good. I did it for a little while, and then I kind of burned out and was like, yeah, this isn't for me, And always in the back of my mind, it's always been like, no, like do it, do something. I never did because I was scared. I've had some things happen in my life that have made me particularly nervous about how people think about me and just being judged. And I've lost some people who are really important to me because of how they thought about me. And it was, a big story for another day, but a lot of things that were misconstrued. And it got really, really hard. And so I was like, I kind of became a shell of myself for a long time. I was like, I don't want to put myself out there because I've now found my close-knit community of people, and I just want to keep that. And for whatever reason, when everything happened in February this year, I was like, yeah, maybe I should start sharing it. And I didn't do it. And it was funny because from February to about like the end of April, I was struggling. And then in May, I actually was walking again. I was doing really well. I was like, cool, I don't have to. Like, I'm good. And then in June, I completely relapsed. And so I was like, okay, I'll just do it. Fine. You know what? Like, you've been nagging me. Like, clearly there's something that I just need to do it, whether it's for me or for someone else, And so I had just had this thought of like, what would be cool is if you just did just post every day of you walking and just day whatever until I walk normal again and just see what happens. And so I posted, and it was funny because I originally just started doing it on TikTok. I was like, no one knows me here.
Why does it feel safer on TikTok?
I know. And I was like, no one's here. My family doesn't follow me on TikTok. Like, no one has it. And so it was kind of this like free judgment zone, it felt like, even though like my family and friends don't judge me. It's this weird feeling. So I did that, and it was hilarious because we go to Bear Lake every year with my dad's side of the family, and we were on our trip in Bear Lake, and I was still trying to film the videos. And my grandma, little Grams, I love her, she was like, Lindsey, why can't I see the videos? And I was like, because you're not on TikTok, sorry. And then she was like, well, do I need to get on TikTok? I was like, Grandma, you are in your 80s. Yeah. You do not need to be on TikTok. And so I was like, you know what, Grams, for you, I will start posting on Instagram. And so I started. So I was a little bit delayed. That's why I was delayed on Instagram. But anyways, I started doing that for her. And I found that I wasn't as alone as I thought I was. First of all, I had a lot of people reach out, complete strangers that would reach out to me on both platforms and either say thank you for sharing my journey because they either had struggled with FND for a time and felt really alone, or they just got diagnosed and had no idea where to go. And my video came across their feed. And then I also had people with completely different, physical ailments or like mental illness or just like lots of, there's so many things. And I just had people reach out and just say thank you so much for like creating a space where they could come and see that they weren't alone. And it made me feel very seen, but also like, okay, there was a reason that I needed to do this. And for me, it wasn't like because I was going to blow up into this huge like influencer. I am not cut out for that. I didn't want that to be what it was. But I have this community now on both platforms of about like 5,000 people now that have followed along and have supported me. Complete strangers on the internet are praying for me and supporting me through it. And it's been incredible. It's been and I've felt used by God to help other people.
I commend you for being brave enough to do it. I know myself how scary and how debilitating it is to have that desire or that, like, I guess you'd say prompting, but to be completely wrapped up in fear.
It's scary.
And when you think about it, you're like, oh, 5,000 followers, that's not like a ton. That is a lot of people. If they were all stuck in one room with us,
that'd be a lot of people.
It would be so many people. Yeah. And so that's what I'm always, reminding myself is if any message, you know, whether it be from your thing or, you know, in my case, my podcast can touch one person, then I've done my job, you know, in acting on the prompting that I've had. So I want you to take us back to the day every single time I watch this video. Brady and I have both watched it, and we've watched it together, and we both cry every time. It's the day from your most recent flare up where we had just watched you for 75 days post about trying to walk. And in each one, you have, you know, different struggles. We see different members of your family helping you. And then on day 122, you drop the crutches and you finally walk again. What does that feel like to finally regain that?
It's the best feeling. It's so, like, physically, it's like, oh, I can move. Like, there's so many layers to it, I feel like, because my body is so tired of sitting all the time and being, like, when I try and walk, you see it in the videos, my leg gives out and I'm like constantly just having this jerky movement. It hurts.
I'm sure you get so sore.
It's like, so like physically it's huge. Mentally it's this huge, just like breath of fresh air. And it's like, okay, I'm good. I can do this. I have to like pull myself back a little bit, because the day that I'm like, I'm good again, I'm like, let's go run a marathon tomorrow. I'm ready. And it doesn't work that way. So I have to kind of pace myself, but it is just this overwhelming sense of like peace and gratitude and comfort and like understanding, just so many things all wrapped into one, that I feel like every time I feel it, I'm like, it can't get any better. It cannot get any better than this. And somehow every time it does. And it's something that I just will never ever take for granted. Because the second I lose it, you know, that's all I can think about too. But it just feels so big and like glorious. Like, this is amazing. How lucky am I to get to witness God's hand in this way in my life?
This is your caption from that post that day, and I would encourage everyone to go watch it. It's very inspiring. But you say, today I quite literally walked into a new chapter of my life, filled with grace, humility, gratitude, appreciation, and trust for my Savior and my Father in heaven, knowing without a doubt that they know me, that they love me, and that they have carried me and will continue to carry me through each and every hard day, or through each and every hard, tear-filled, doubt-filled, amazing, wonderful, awe-filled miracle of a journey from here on out. And that the song that's playing in the background, I also love.
I love that song.
It's God's story. And it says, my life is a God story. Got to tell the whole world what he's done for me. Miracles on miracles that only he could do. I'm proof that we were all one prayer away from a testimony. Only getting all the glory. My life is a God story. And so I want to ask you, after all that you've been through, do you believe in miracles? We're going into the holiday season right now, and your episode will air right before Christmas. And this is a season to be looking for the miracles around us, and there's so many reminders.
Yeah.
Do you believe in miracles?
Absolutely. 1,000,000,000%. If I sat here and told you otherwise, I wouldn't be able to live with myself. Like it would be the biggest lie, because I don't believe them. I've seen them. I've witnessed them. I know that they are real. I know that they happen. I am walking proof, living proof. I have everything. I'm forever indebted to Jesus Christ and to my Father in heaven, because I would not be here. I would not be where I am without the miracles that they have allowed to happen in my life.
Sometimes I think miracles, they can happen in the smallest ways, but they are, and in ways that are just so personal to us. If I can just share a very quick story. When I was pregnant with my fourth child, Bo, I got a kidney stone, which is not unusual, but they're so painful. Anyway, this one ends up getting stuck. I have it for 6 straight weeks and it's miserable. It's, to the point where it was affecting my daily life. I couldn't leave the house because I'd be taken down in pain. And I've got these 3 other kids to
be a mom
for. And they basically at the doctor were telling me, well, there's nothing we can do to help you, because we can't put you under anesthesia because that's scary for the baby. That would be an emergency situation only. And so every day for 6 straight weeks, I would take oxycodone like around the clock because that was the only way I could function. And then I was up through the night. The only way I could get relief was in the bathtub. But I end up telling God, I say, I will go until June 1st, but I cannot go a day beyond June 1st. And we were getting back from a trip on the night before. And I just said, if I'm still in this much pain on June 1st, I'm going to have him go put me under because I cannot do this. And it's a miracle to me. But on the night of May 31st at midnight, it was literally 12:04, I passed the kidney stone.
That's amazing.
And that's silly. That's like very personal. That's like TMI. But there are miracles that happen all the time if we choose to see them as a miracle.
Absolutely.
In your life, to me, anyone that follows you can see that a miracle has been performed in your life. What has this taught you about God's timing when you never know when the next episode is going to happen, when you never know how much time you have with, being able to walk?
Yeah. What
has it taught you about patience in God's timing?
That it is crucial. I've had to, I've always thought I was a patient person. And maybe it's because I would say that, like, I think I'm pretty patient, that he was like, no, I'm going to make you more patient.
Could be more.
Could be better. And it's just so interesting because it seems like, every time you're at it's your last ditch effort, you're so close to giving up. That seems to be when he comes in. And I just have found that that's always different. Like, for example, when I first walked after I was home from my mission, I was at my wit's end, and I was like, I need this to be done. I need it. I don't know what to do anymore. I have gone down every single avenue and looked at every single thing. What is going on? Why can't I do this? And this was actually a very, very special experience that I had. But I remember I was down in my room again. Sorry, I feel very inclined to share this, but I was in my room and I had, again, just kind of fallen to my knees, just like I did when I wrote that song. And when I got to my room, again, I'm walking down the stairs on crutches, and it takes a lot of energy to get there. So when I get there, I drop the crutch and I fall, and I'm just on my knees crying and just so like, where are you? What is going on? And I remember praying for so long, and the second that I ended that prayer, I heard a voice in my head that said, Lindsey, rise and walk. And I was like, huh? Like, I know that wasn't me, because I never would say it like that. I'd be like, get up, But the words were rise and walk. And I remember standing up very slowly, very hesitantly, holding onto my bed. And I remember, okay, I'm going to try and walk to the closet, about maybe like 3 steps. And I took those 3 steps. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to try and go back now. And I turned around and I remember like my hand leaving the handle of my closet. I was like, I'm alone. What do I do? And just step, just walk. And I stood there, pacing inside my room for a minute, and realized that I was walking for the first time in a long time. And I remember I ran ran as fast as I could, you know, but I swiftly walked over to my sister's room and I was like, Chelsea. And she looks up at me and she's like, what are you doing? Like, what? You just walked down here on your crutch. Like, what's going on? And I was like, I'm walking. And we have a video of me in the kitchen, because after that, Chelsea was like, get upstairs, you know? And so we go upstairs and we get up the stairs and she's like, hello, she's walking. And there's just a video of me crying, just like walking, pacing in the kitchen. And my family's like, I remember I walked up and my dad was cutting an apple in the kitchen. He was at the counter. And I remember the look on his face specifically. And I'm surprised he didn't cut his finger, but he was sitting there going like this. And he looks up and he's like, what are you doing? Like, what's going on? And everyone was just like, oh my gosh. And that miracle was exactly what I needed in that moment. And it's just so interesting because, like, for me at that point in my life, that was the miracle I needed, was to walk again. And fast forward now to this year in 2025, in February, when I had been in such a low place living in Reno, I didn't have really any friends. I was really struggling. Quincy, she was a really croupy baby, and we had been in and out of the ER through the winter. It was a really, really hard winter. I feel like my anxiety really spiked after having her specifically. And so I was really struggling that way. I was not happy. Adam and I were struggling because he felt so bad. He was like, we're here because of me and you're miserable. It's my fault. And there was just so much. And I had kind of, come to this conclusion that I was going to make Reno better, all that stuff. And I had this experience where in January, like I was like, okay, I'm going to make everything good. I'm going to make it what it needs to be. But on the other hand, I need your help to like figure out what to do and how to get back to Utah if that's what we need to do. I had this very amazing experience where, like, in the temple, I read about like returning to your homeland in Doctrine and Covenants 58. I had said a prayer, and the first thing I read was like, listen to me, I'm going to tell you about the land that I've sent you to. And I was like, okay. So I read this chapter and I felt like I had all these answers. It talked about eventually going back to your homeland. And I was like, cool, we're going to go home. We're not here forever. Great. And a week later, I had my seizure. And I was just like, okay, so I tell you, like, I'm going to do what I can to make this good. And then you put me here. But that was exactly, I would say, the miracle that I needed at that time, to see how he had worked in my life to gather these angels in a place where I felt none, and show me them, and also show me that his timing is everything. Because in the time, it was about 2 weeks time that from my first seizure to when we figured out what we were going to do. And Adam had been able to apply to jobs, get interviews, but in a almost a month span, maybe a little less, I couldn't walk. But we had packed up our apartment. We had moved from Reno to Draper. We had found an apartment 2 minutes away from my parents' house. Adam had 3 job offers in Salt Lake. And he accepted one and started work. And everything fell into place. And so even the comparison between those two experiences, one was like this miraculous, I'm healed. And the other one was this like, I am so low, so much lower than I've ever been. And everything is okay. I just can't. To sit here and say that both of those things weren't miracles would be untrue. And I'm so grateful that I've been able to experience miracles on such a deep level in so many different ways.
I've been studying this week, back to Mark 5, but when he says, your faith hath made thee whole. Mm-hmm. Well, sometimes I've thought in context of maybe your situation, well, what if he can't take away F and D from you in this lifetime? What I keep thinking of, though, is your faith can make you, and I looked up what does whole mean, and it means unbroken.
Yeah.
Your faith can make it feel like it's not broken.
Yeah.
even though you'll still have FND, you can have peace, you can have clarity, you can have all these different experiences amidst the trial when we look to him with faith. Well, as we wrap up this interview, it's been so fun to talk to you and so inspiring to hear your story. I know there are so many people out there that can benefit from hearing your testimony and your witness. But as you think back on all the quiet little moments that you've had during this trial, was there one special moment that stands out to you where you knew God was aware of you?
Yeah. I remember there was one night that it was after I came home from my mission, and I was actually walking. I was driving, like things were actually pretty good. But I remember I had met a boy that I was going to marry. He was kind of this, I was like, oh my gosh, this is why I needed to come home. You know, like the timing, like perfect. We had a date to get married. Everything was set. Sorry. Everything was set. And I, just felt so much clarity. And then one day he broke up with me and called off the wedding and all these things. And I was like, okay, like, great. What am I supposed to do now? And I remember one night just feeling so just distraught. I was like, the love of my life is gone. I'm broken. Like everything is just terrible, you know, even having been through this miracle the past year. And I remember I decided to go drive up to the temple. Up to the Draper Temple. And from where my parents live, I was living there at the time. You can either go up, you know, straight up 123rd, right up to the Draper Temple, or you can take the freeway. And so I remember getting in my car and I was like just talking to God on the drive. And I was like, I'm so mad. Like, I don't understand what's going on. And I had some things, like I had to turn around to go, I don't remember even what it was, but I had to go back home because I think I wanted to take my scriptures and I had left them. And so I went and got my scriptures and I was kind of mad. I was like, now I'm going to be longer than I wanted to be. I'm just trying to go like feel the spirit of the temple. And it was dark. It was late at night. It was snowing. And I remember I took the freeway. So I was kind of going up the back way to the temple. And as I rounded this corner, coming around, almost there, I saw this head-on collision that had happened maybe a minute or two prior. That probably could have been me if I hadn't turned around to go back and get my scriptures. And it was just this really quiet moment where I was like, you know what? He knows me. He knows what I'm doing. He knows where I am. And he knows that I have a purpose and I'm here. Like that could have been me. That could have been really bad. But something in me just felt this quiet reassurance that he was there. And as I sat in the temple, at the temple in the parking lot, I thought of one of my favorite hymns, Come Thou Fount. And I remember thinking of the line, let thy goodness like a fetter bind my wandering heart to thee. And I had never known what a fetter was. So I looked it up and it's a chain. It's something that they use to, like, you're in shackles to hold in, someone in prison. And I was like, why on earth would you use that to describe your relationship with Christ? But as I thought about it, I was like, well, that is one of the strongest things. You can't break that. And that opened my mind to this undeniable connection to Christ that I was like, I want to be bound to you in that way forever. And every time I go through something, I'm reminded of what a fetter is and how I need to strengthen my fetter to Jesus Christ. And so the last time I thought about this, I thought about all of these things that I've experienced in my life. And I thought about just what he means to me and what my life would be like without him and without his atonement. And I felt really inspired to write another song, and it's called Have You Ever? And it's just about, what would life be like if we didn't have him? What would life be like if we didn't have his light and him guiding us? Because I sure don't know where I would be. And I am incredibly grateful that I am where I am. And I'm only where I am because of him.
Thank you. Let's listen to that now.
Have you ever wondered what this life would be like if we didn't have all of his light to lead us and show us the way? Have you ever wondered what we'd have to go through if we had to walk all alone through all of the trials we face? Where would we be if we didn't have all that he's given and all that he's done? All that I know is that life would be so much different. We'd never know joy if we didn't know pain. Never know clear skies if it never rained. Never know what it means to be redeemed without his forgiveness. We'd never know hope and we'd never know love if he never sent us his son from above. We'd be lost, never found, live our lives never knowing who he is. Never know strength if we didn't know weakness. Have you ever wanted to change all the outcomes that don't go your way, just to find some kind of healing and peace? Have you ever thought it was you who knew better, but humbled by truth that we never know all the blessings he sees? I don't know where I'd be if I didn't have him to rely on, his hand to reach. All I know is that he makes me better, and I wanna learn all he's willing to teach. We'd never know joy if we didn't know pain. Never know clear skies if it never rained. Never know what it means to be redeemed without his forgiveness. We'd never know hope and we'd never know love if he never sent us his son from above. We'd be lost, never found, live our lives never knowing who he is. Never know strength if we didn't know weakness. Have you ever wondered what this life would be like if we didn't have all of his light? If we didn't have him who saves?
Okay, well, Lindsey, thank you so much for being here. It's been so good to talk to you. I just have one last question for you, and that is, what advice or what would you say to someone out there who is being held back by a physical limitation in some way, who is sick, who is otherwise not able to, do what they want to be doing with their life right now? What would you say to that person?
That you're not alone. That is something that I'm constantly reminded of every time I go through something difficult, whether it has to do with FND or not. And just to remember that, again, God is not going to lead you to something if he can't lead you through it, and he can. There is nothing that he can't get you through. And I just think that even when we are at our lowest of lows, they can be some of the most heart-wrenching and terrifying times in our lives. But if we can hold on to him and truly see him, they turn into some of the most beautiful and some of the most sacred and cherished moments that you will never want to forget. And I can sit here and tell you that I am grateful, not necessarily that I have FND. It's lame and it's hard. But I'm so grateful for what it has taught me and what it continues to teach me and what it is able to do for me and for my family. And now for strangers on the internet and for people who are able to hear my story. I just hope that anyone who does hear it can know that they're in good company. And if you call out, he's there. And he always will be.
Thank you so much, Lindsey. Appreciate you and your message, your willingness to share it with us. I want you to plug your socials, if you will, because you are a great follow. It's an inspiring follow. So tell us where we can find you.
I appreciate it. On Instagram, if you search Lindsey Curtis, I don't know if I'll come up. My @ is Lindsey_T22.
Lindsey with an E, Lindsey, right?
Yes, and then _T22. And then TikTok, I'm just Lindsey Curtis. And my handle has like wife and motherhood and FND tagged onto it. So, I've seen some of like the search bars in the videos say like Lindsey can't walk. Like you could probably find it if you search that.
Lindsey can't walk.
Yeah. Like
you heard it here.
Yeah. So you could probably find it there, like FND. Cause I've tried to like, one of the things I want to do is raise awareness just for it and help people find, answers and understanding. Cause it's confusing and it's something people don't really know about. So, that's where I'm at.
Thank you so much, Lindsey. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. This has been awesome.
You've been listening to More Than Musicians. Thanks for being here. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, and anywhere you get your podcasts. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, rate, and review. It helps more people find us. And if you or someone you know has a story you'd like to share, we'd love to hear from you. You can email us at morethanmusicians@gmail.com. We'll be back next week with another episode. See you then.